Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto x Alex Danvers in Supergirl. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by HUMBLEDUDE 101 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. People know Kara Danvers as a star reporter for Catco, and some know her as Supergirl. Her sister is the director of the DO in National City, however very few people know of the third Danvers, the youngest son Naruto. Naruto was born unlucky, his body was weak, meaning he had to use a cane for most of his life. But he never let it get him down, he knew his body was weak, so he trained his mind, while others went out and partied, he studied, soon earning himself degrees in both bioengineering and advanced robotics. He was soon considered a genius by his peers. He never stayed in the spotlight, preferring to stay hidden and make the world a better place in secret. He was kind, always looking for the best of people. His genius managed to get him a job in Lathorcorp in the R&D department. He had developed a specialized response unit for natural disasters, the Beauty and the Beasts. The name wasn't his idea. He had created the group and developed several suits to help them in search and rescue. Naruto was working late again. He was working on the Raven suit, the flight wasn't as smooth as he had wanted it to be. He was always trying to make sure that the girls were protected, it was just his nature to make sure that everyone was safe, even if that put his safety at risk. The Raven suit was meant to be an advanced recon unit for the government, however, when the price was revealed the government pulled out. Thanks to Luthor Core resources he was able to get hold of the only remaining suits. The suits he was currently working on were the Raven suit, Octopus, Wolf and the Mantis. The pilots were all females who had been diagnosed with PTSD and had volunteered to use the suits. Naruto had become great friends with all four and had been helping them move through their issues. Thanks to Naruto, all four women were receiving therapy and the new virtual reality systems made healing just a little more easy. They had even made a humanitarian effort in a small Middle Eastern city, which was a huge success and had even given L Corporation a large boost in positive publicity. Naruto was so focused on the Raven suit he didn't hear the door slide open. He was broken from his focus when a hand was placed on his shoulder, he flinches and jumps a little in panic. Lena Luthor smiled as she looked down at her favorite employee. Her hands had just touched his shoulder and she nearly had him jumping out of his seat. "Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. What are you still doing here? Everyone else left a while ago." Naruto looked sheepish as he nervously chuckled at her question. He looked back to the wings and swallowed the lump in his throat. The Raven wings were sluggish for Gabby today in training, so I've been working on them to help her out." As Naruto spoke he began to rub his arm. Lena's smile was still present on her face as she sat down in the empty seat at his side. "You know this is the fifth night you have stayed here past midnight. I bet you're still going to be the first one through the door tomorrow." Naruto's awkward smile returned. "I like working here and everyone is really nice about my work." Lena placed her hand on his leg before sighing. "You need a break, you haven't used a single sick or personal day in over a year. I'm asking you please take a couple days off. You'll work yourself to an early grave if you don't." Naruto looked down as he heard that. "Yeah, okay, I'll take a couple of days. Thank you Lena, you're a good friend." He looked back up at her with a small smile on his face. Lena stood helping him to his feet. "Listen, you go home and relax. I'll finish up here for the night." Naruto nodded and began to leave his cane, making a step noise as he walked. As Naruto disappeared from sight and the sound became softer, Lena pulled out a hand mirror. She clicks the mirror open and takes out a chip hidden inside before walking towards the suit. She sighs again, softer this time, to herself, "Soon everyone will love you like I do. But for now, baby steps." As she places the chip into the neck of the suit, she hums to herself as she works before moving on to the other three. Chapter 2. As Naruto made his way back to his apartment, he felt like he was being watched. Every now and again he turned and looked behind him, only to find an empty street. Sighing to himself over his delusions, he continued the walk to his home. As he walked, a woman watched him from the rooftops. She had red hair and had a red bow in her hands. As she watched him, she sighed dreamily as she watched over her beloved walk away. "You're so cute when you're scared. But don't you worry, Cupid is gonna keep you safe." As Naruto walked into his apartment building, Cupid started skipping over to the edge of the building she was on and without a moment's hesitation jumped from the roof. Firing a grappling arrow mid-dive saved her from becoming a smear on the ground. Swinging through the air, Cupid looked back once more to where Naruto lived. She sighed again and focused on where she swung. Naruto smiled as he opened the door to the apartment. His roommate should be asleep as he tried to walk through the apartment without too much noise being made. His cane tried to fight this hope, always catching the wood and making a crack. Naruto tried to walk without his cane, this was painful, but he didn't want to wake his roommate. As he moved into the living room, a single lamp was turned on. Naruto froze like a deer in the headlights, slowly turning his head he saw Lyra Strayed sitting in a large chair. Naruto awkwardly smiled again before putting his cane back on the ground and leaning into it. "So, how was your day?" He spoke trying to break the tense silence. Lyra's pale eyes burned into his very soul as she stood up and walked up to him, she moved slowly like a tiger stalking a gazelle. As she got closer Naruto tried backing up only to be met by a wall. Lyra was immediately in his face. Naruto held his breath waiting for what she was going to do to him. Lyra surprised him by pulling him into a big hug and pushing his head into her chest. "Please tell me when you finish with work from now on, I don't like you walking home alone this late at night." Naruto nodded and was released from the grip of his alien roommate. She pulled him towards his room and offered to stay with him while he slept. This was rejected as Naruto had to close the door to stop her from trying to climb into bed with him. Naruto looked over his room, it was bare with only a bed and a small bookshelf being there. The bookshelf was filled with encyclopedias and papers by famous scientists. He smiled to himself as he fell asleep. As he slept he never saw the small camera watching him from inside his clock. The camera was dark melding with the rest of the camera, other than the neon red numbers. On the other end of the camera watching Naruto from a laptop, a blonde woman with a large pair of glasses watched with an intense look of adoration. "Naruto, I love you. Don't worry, you'll be with me soon." She looked up towards her shrine of Naruto, which was filled with pictures of him in various places and several small things she had stolen from him, such as a toothbrush and even a pair of boxers. In her mind she believes Naruto wanted her to have these items so it wasn't really stealing. She continued to watch the feed before she heard her alarm go off for someone coming into the lair. Closing her laptop and going back to her desk, she reopened several tabs that had been closed so she could focus on her Naruto, and a panel came over her shrine hiding it from sight. The Arrow, Oliver Queen walked into the lair and saw Felicity on the computers as usual. Felicity looked up and smiled at him, as he returned it he went over to hang up his bow for the night. Felicity continued to smile as she closed everything, as soon as Oliver turned his back to her the smile disappeared. Felicity grabbed her laptop and left the lair. As Naruto slept unaware of the multiple women currently watching him. As he slept one more pair of eyes joined the many, a single figure flew high above the clouds as Supergirl watched on. She always worried about her baby brother, it had become a small obsession to her to keep an eye on him and keep him safe. She didn't trust his roommate, Kara knew she couldn't keep him safe like she could. She was Supergirl for Pete's sake and she could keep him safe and he would love her for it. She shivered lightly at this thought of just her and Naruto alone in the fortress. She stopped herself from fantasizing too much about the future as she focused back onto Naruto and his whore roommate. As Naruto slept Kara just wanted to fly down and hold him like she did when they were younger. She sighed as she heard a scream, annoyed at her time watching was interrupted by some weakling. As she shot through the air her thoughts went back to her brother and how she wanted to keep him safe. Chapter 3. A humble day. The next day. Naruto had been awake for an hour and was currently making a large meat-based breakfast for his roommate. Naruto continued to cook until a knock on the door broke his focus. He knocked on his roommate's door as he walked to the front door, Lyra moved towards the kitchen as she watched Naruto go to the door. Opening the door Naruto saw his older sister Kara standing there with a large smile on her face. "Hey, Lena told me you had the day off and I wanted to see if you wanted to spend the day together." She could see Lyra glaring at her. Naruto looked at her and began to rub his arm and look down, "I would like that, but I don't want to ruin your day and what about your work?" He looked down as he spoke. Kara had to fight the urge to grab him and smother him in love for being so cute. She reached out and placed a hand on his arm. "All I have to do is head into work for a quick spreadsheet for Miss Grant and then that's it, we can spend the whole day together." Her smile was contagious as Naruto soon had a smile on his face. He looked back and saw Lyra eating a large steak and staring at him. "I'll be back later Lyra, please don't punch anyone." He asked. Lyra felt her eye twitch as she saw how smug Kara looked behind him. "That's fine. Just make sure to call me if you're in trouble." As she spoke Naruto got a smile on his face at how kind his roommate is. Kara's thoughts were different, fearing that this weakling had dug her claws into her cute little brother. Kara soon linked her arm with her brother's and got his attention back on her where it should always be. "I'm sure we'll be fine, come on Naruto." She dragged him out of the apartment, never seeing Lyra stab the table she was sitting at with a knife. Naruto soon fell in line with Kara as she marched towards the elevator. "You know she was just being a good friend. I don't get why you two don't get along." Naruto looked down a little as he spoke. Kara pushed the call button before looking back at him. "I'm sorry, it's just I don't trust her. I worry about you and I don't want you to get hurt, that's all." As she spoke the doors slid open and they both entered the elevator. Naruto nodded before pushing the ground button. "I get it, but I'm not a little kid anymore and I know you don't like her now, but I'm sure you'll both get along. If you try to, I mean." Naruto kept his gaze to the floor as they descended. Kara sighed as she looked at her brother, he looked like a sad puppy that had been told off. I know you're not a kid anymore, as much as I would like you to be. But I can still worry about you over everything, but I will work on it, I promise. She smiled at him again, getting him to smile back. Soon the elevator stopped and both Danvers left the building. Moving through National City at a steady pace so that Naruto wouldn't overstrain himself. The cane clicked onto the floor with each step as metal met stone. The two received varying stares from people, with some looking at the possessive look on Kara's face and others looking at Naruto's cane. Naruto looked uncomfortable over the looks he received, while Kara felt a small amount of pride from all the looks they were getting. She began to imagine her wedding to her little Naruto, the looks she would receive then and perfect everything would be. She had lost focus as they walked, thinking about her wedding day. Soon she regained that lost focus when Naruto was trying to get her attention. Looking around she saw that they were outside Katko. She smiled at him as they entered the building. So I just need to do a couple small things and we can get going. Just sit at my desk and try not to draw attention to yourself. Naruto nodded as she spoke before they entered yet another elevator. They made it into the heart of Katko Media and Naruto was led to Kara's desk outside Kat Grant's office. Kara is happy that Ms. Grant is out of the country for some business or she would have gotten a mouthful. Naruto sat down at her desk and started to look around the office. As Kara disappeared heading down a few stairs. He heard a second elevator ding as Naruto slowly turned and saw an older blonde woman stomp through the office. Her anger was visible, causing the workers in the office to scatter and try and hide themselves from the media queen's wrath. Kiara, I need a triple macchiato with extra. Her anger was forgotten as instead of her plucky blonde assistants, it was a rather timid-looking young man. Naruto wished he could just crawl into a ball and die as he watched Kat Grant slowly turn and stare at him. You are not my assistant, where is she? Naruto stood and saw all the eyes in the office staring at him like he was insane. Naruto cleared his throat and held out his hand to shake. I'm sorry, I'm Kara's brother Naruto. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Grant. Kara told me how kind you are. Everyone couldn't take their eyes off of what was happening. Pat blinked a couple of times before a smile slowly crept onto her face. It is a pleasure to meet you as well. I didn't know Kara had a brother. Please come into my office. She took his hand as she spoke before moving into her office. Naruto smiled as he followed behind her as the employees all stared at the scene that just played out with open jaws and wide eyes. Some had even filmed the exchange just so they could prove that this just happened. Inside Kat's office. Naruto was given a seat across from Ms. Grant's desk. Thank you, Miss Grant. Kat had a large smile on her face as he spoke. It's no problem, but please call me Kat. Now I was wondering, how has Kara managed to keep you a secret for so long? She asked Naruto as he made himself comfortable and laid his cane on his lap. Naruto paused for a second as she finished her question. I don't think she was trying to hide me. She just gets a little concerned about me, especially since I'm not exactly the best physically speaking. As he finished his joke he held the cane aloft. Had actually cracked a snicker at that, which really set Naruto at ease. Well, she never mentioned you before, so you have to forgive my curiosity. Blame it on the writer in me. She joked back that Naruto let out a small laugh at that. Hat's smile returned as she heard Naruto laugh. It was rather nice to listen to. Naruto, would you like a drink? Naruto shook his head negatively. I'm sorry Kat, but I can't drink. My medication makes it impossible for me to actually drink. I'm 20 years sober, I like to tell people. Naruto joked again. Kat smiled and made herself a small glass of brandy. Naruto's smile never left his face as she moved back to her chair. His sight was taken by the amount of screens on the wall. I'm sorry to ask, but why do you have so many TVs on the wall? Pat looked at her wall of media before responding. I'm the queen of media, it's not just a monarch I have, I need to know what everyone else is doing so I can come out on top. Naruto looked captivated as she spoke. Pat's and Naruto's conversation continued for another 10 minutes after that. The workers outside her office kept looking up to see if Ms. Grant had eaten this strange kind man. Kara soon walked back into the office, looking towards her desk expecting to see her cute baby brother. Her expectations were destroyed when she couldn't see him. Marching forward she paused when she saw her boss and Naruto sitting in her office. The most shocking part of what she saw was that Kat Grant, the coldest woman who she ever worked for, the queen of media, was laughing. Not a condescending laugh or a cruel chuckle, but an actual laugh, filled with joy and happiness. Kara looked towards the other workers and they were just as shocked as she was. Some had even thanked her for bringing this kind man into the workplace. She shook herself before knocking on the glass door. She saw Kat motion her to enter. As she entered she saw Ms. Grant wiping her eyes from the tears of laughter. Kara, you never told you had a brother and one so funny as well. You really have been hiding a treasure from the world. Kara's eye lightly twitched as she watched her boss and brother get along so well. She didn't want him to be getting close to other women, he was hers. Her inner rant was halted when Kat continued to speak to her. "Kara, I want you and this fine gentleman to come to a party I'm holding." Kara was about to give some kind of excuse how they couldn't go. Naruto piped up again, "Actually, we have another sister, would she also be able to join us?" "I'm sorry for asking for so much." Kat smiled again and nodded. "If she is anything like you then I would be happy to have her." Naruto stood up and nodded again to her, he was grateful that Kara's boss was so kind and understanding. Kara was quick to drag Naruto through the office as he waved goodbye to Kat and the other employees. After Naruto left, no one saw the small spark of electricity dart from one of the screens inside Kat's office. The spark darted down cables and sockets and everything it had to. In a darkened room hidden away from the world, a woman sat with white hair and lightning dancing across her hands laid on a large sofa. A small spark flew into her, a few seconds of silence followed before a grin ripped across her face. "Naruto, huh, you're gonna be fun to play with." Livewire chuckled before shooting her hand forward, a large bolt of electricity shot forward scorching the wall. "Back with the Danvers siblings." Kara looked annoyed as she and Naruto were getting milkshakes. The woman behind the counter had the gall to slip her number to Naruto on his napkin. Luckily for her, Naruto didn't see and a quick switch made sure he never would. Kara wanted this moment to never end, it was just her and Naruto alone, and nothing could ruin this moment. As the two settled into this state of calm, it was broken by the sounds of an explosion in the distance. Kara nearly let out a scream of rage, she looked to Naruto and saw him looking at her with a look of understanding. Kara nodded and ran to an alley. As Kara entered and Supergirl shot out towards the explosion. In less than 5 seconds Supergirl arrived on the scene, she hovered in the air and saw the cause of the explosion. A man with short black hair stood in the middle of the street wearing a suit of armor, he had 2 large cannons smoking on both arms. "Hey, knock off Reactron." Supergirl shouted out, getting his attention. Kara had some pent-up anger to let out so she wasn't gonna talk for long. "Supergirl. I've been waiting for you. This is the day you fall at the hands of the Destroyer." Kara had to let out a sigh at his stupid name and his declaration. Kara saw he was about to continue the monologue and decided to take the initiative. She shot forward and crushed one of his cannons in her hands. Destroyer panicked and tried to point the second cannon at her, but was once again stopped. His cannon was cut in half by a pair of lasers coming from Supergirl's eyes. Kara glared down at Destroyer as he began to try and run. He didn't even make it a couple of steps before he tripped up and began to crawl away from her. Kara had to stop herself from crushing this worm as she saw he had wet himself. Kara was about to hit him again when she saw the cops arrive, grabbing the guy by his collar, she dragged him kicking and screaming towards the police officers. Throwing him at the feet of the 2 officers, she turned and shot back up into the sky, avoiding people who wanted to thank her and take photos. As she dropped back into the alley, Kara soon emerged jogging back to Naruto. She saw Naruto sitting there speaking with their sister Alex Danvers. Kara almost did a double take as she saw her sister here. She walked over to her siblings. "Hey Alex, I thought you had work to do." Alex looked at her with a smile on her face. "I asked Hank if I could have the day off, he said yes as long as I get to him by the end of the week." The 2 sisters smiled at each other, waiting for one to back down from the other. Naruto was happy that his family was all in the same place. Naruto stood gaining both sisters' attention. "I'll be right back, nature calls is a saying I've heard." Naruto began limping forward, his trusted cane helping him along. As they watched him disappear into the men's room, both sisters turned sharply to the other. "What are you doing here?" "Naruto and I were spending the day together." Kara angrily whispered to her sister, trying to avoid drawing too much attention to themselves. Alex crossed her arms over her chest as she looked down at Kara. "Oh really, then why was he sitting around alone?" "You're lucky I was in the area keeping an eye on him, or who knows what would have happened, he could have been kidnapped." Kara's hand balled up into a fist as she heard this. "And by keeping an eye on him you mean stalking? How many times do I have to tell you he's mine?" End of discussion. Alex was pissed as she heard this. "Listen Kara, we made a deal not to kill each other, and that's fine by me. But if you call Naruto's yours again and I'll have a chunk of kryptonite under your pillows when you sleep." They were moments away from attacking each other, Kara's eyes glowed with heat and Alex's hand was on her gun. The tension was snapped when Naruto came walking back to the table. "Sorry for that. Hey, since we're all here together, why don't we just spend it together as one big family?" Naruto's smile was infectious as he spoke. By the time he was finished, both Kara and Alex had a large smile on their faces as they nodded. Chapter 4. The day was in Naruto's eyes as perfect, his overprotective siblings were getting along great. He wore a big grin on his face while sitting through a crappy movie they had all decided to go see. Naruto sat between his sisters, saving them from having an argument about where they sat. While Naruto sat and enjoyed the film, Kara and Alex had been glaring at each other. As soon as the movie ended, the siblings left to get a bite to eat for lunch, they all decided on Big Belly Burger. Naruto grabbed them a table while he left the siblings to get the food. Alex and Kara stood in a line in complete silence, not even looking at each other. That silence was broken when the two sisters saw something that made their blood boil. A woman had walked up to their brother and began to speak to him. They both had to stop themselves from jumping over and brutally murdering the woman. They turned to each other, both hesitating for a second before Alex took the initiative. "Look, I know you and I will always be at ends over who deserves Naruto more, but right now I don't want him stolen by some no-good slut who will use and abuse him." As Alex spoke, Kara could only find herself agreeing with her rival for Naruto's heart. "Now I'm gonna order our food and take everything to the table. While I'm doing that, you keep those whores away from our baby brother." Kara sighed, not wanting to agree or do what her enemy said, but seeing no real way to counter the argument. Stomping away from her sister, Kara soon made it to the table Naruto picked out. It was near the window and allowed them to see the city. She also saw the black-haired whore speaking to him. "So if you ever need anything, give me a call, okay babe?" As she spoke, Naruto was trying to push himself into the corner as much as he could. Thank you, but I'm fine. I'm here with my sisters and I don't want them to worry." The woman tried to get closer but was stopped when Kara sat down across from Naruto. Kara still had a smile on her face as she looked at Naruto. "Hey, so Alex said this one is on her if you agree to be her partner for game night." "Oh hello, I'm Kara, Naruto's older sister." As she introduced herself, she put her hand out to greet the woman. The woman almost flinched when she took Kara's hand. She could feel her hand was in a vice but didn't scream out. Kara's smile never left as she watched the woman's eye twitch and she bit her lip. "Yeah, pleased to meet you too." She tried to sound confident but her body language screamed anything but this. She turned to Naruto and spoke again, "Call me whenever you get some private time." Sauntering away, she left Kara and Naruto at the table. Kara had a little smug smile as she focused back on Naruto. He did not look amused at her antics, he was trying to look annoyed, but she knew he wouldn't stay that way for long. He never could stay mad at them even when they were kids. He didn't break eye contact, and Kara actually felt a small amount of fear, thinking that Naruto would never forgive her and that he would leave her and never return. Her fears were over-exaggerated in her head. Naruto sighed and looked down as Kara continued to stare at him, waiting for him to say anything. "I get that you guys want to protect me, but you guys do this every time." She would have left on her own. Kara actually felt guilty as he spoke. Naruto wasn't finished as Kara tried to speak. "I know that I need help to walk and that my body will always be weaker than everyone's. But if I hide behind you and Alex, then I'll never be able to grow. But thank you for trying to help." Naruto's face was stoic as he spoke. Kara felt a great wave of shame washed over her as he spoke again. "It's okay, ever since your parents found me. You two have been watching over me since I was a baby and I wanted to thank you both." As he finished saying that, Alex had appeared with a large tray of food in her arms. Naruto's smile returned as he looked at both his siblings. "I wanted to say thank you for everything really and I will, but for now can we just have a normal moment please? Just the three of us, no threatening people who get too close, no lightly tapping your gun or making your eyes glow whenever a girl looks at me." When he finished, both siblings were left blushing as they knew they were found out. Looking at each other, the Danvers sisters nodded and turned back towards Naruto. Kara took a breath and spoke. "Okay, no more overprotective siblings for the rest of the day, we promise." Naruto nodded, accepting their promise, and the three began to dig into their meals. 2 large cheese and bacon burgers for Alex, and Kara and Naruto had a small beef burger with a salad. The siblings proceed to spend the rest of the day together, never snapping at each other or threatening anyone that stood close or next to Naruto. The siblings had ended the day by heading over to Kara's for game night with some close friends of both Kara and Alex. Naruto at first had been hesitant to join, arguing that he would slow down any games they played or ruin something somehow. This was met by him being told that he was joining. Naruto didn't argue, wanting to keep the good day going. Soon the 3 siblings and their many friends were playing a game of Jenga. Naruto had been introduced to James Olsen, John Johns, Win, Monel, and he even met a new friend of Alex's, Maggie. Naruto had been surprised when his boss had shown up, not expecting Lena to join. As they had been playing, some people began drinking. Naruto, however, was the exception, sticking with water throughout the night. Naruto was the one who suggested Chinese food and was met as a hero for that thought. As Naruto went to go and pay, he was joined by Lena. Naruto tried to pay but was shot down by Lena, who immediately pulled out a gold card. As they stepped back into the elevator, Naruto turned to speak to his boss. "I wanted to thank you, Miss Luther." Lena looked at him as he continued. "Thanks to you I've been able to spend the day with my sisters. I haven't done that in years." Naruto had a large grin as he continued. "Thank you, Miss Luther, I will continue to work hard under you for as long as you'll have me." Lena had a smile grow on her face as he finished. Before they made it to the correct floor, the elevator came to a screeching halt. Lena reached out, dropping the Chinese food and grabbed Naruto to keep him safe. Keeping him behind him, the doors soon lit up a bright white. The doors were slid open and revealed Livewire. She waved at the two, in her other hand was a small blinking device. As Lena tried to speak, no words came out. She reached to her throat and saw that Livewire had put her fingers to her lips in a shushing motion. She began to slowly approach the two. Lena kept Naruto behind her as Livewire reached out. Chapter 5. Naruto woke up, his arms bound and gagged. He looked around, panic filling his eyes as he saw Lena still unconscious next to him. He tried to move over to her and help but stopped when a voice was heard in the next room. "I did what you wanted. I've got the cripple tied up in the next room, now about my payment." Naruto couldn't hear any response from whoever Livewire was speaking with. Naruto focused on moving to Lena and lightly tapped her with his foot, trying to wake her up. Lena's eyes slowly fluttered open before her eyes went white as she saw Naruto tied up in front of her. She tried moving her arms, finding them much like her secret love had been tied behind her back. She also bit down onto the gag in her mouth, feeling it to be a cloth that had been put there to keep her from screaming or talking. Before she could try to get herself or Naruto out of their binds, Livewire walked into the room with a grin on her smug face. She looked at Naruto and took his face in her hands. "You are gonna make me so rich." Naruto flinched as she grabbed his face. Lena saw this and began to squirm angrily. Livewire, seeing this, pulled Naruto into a closer embrace. Throwing her arm around his shoulders, she pulled him right into her body. "Oh, what's the matter? I got your boyfriend here, and you know what, maybe I won't give him to our mystery buyer. Maybe I'll keep him all for my lonesome." Lena was getting more and more visibly angered as she taunted the bound woman. Her struggling became much more violent as Livewire spoke. "Alright, calm down, Ms. Luther." As she spoke, she let Naruto go. Livewire looked at the clock in the room. "Okay, boys and girls, we are gonna be here for an hour before the knife-eared freaks come and pick up this little shit. So get comfy." As she finished, she pulled the gags out of her captives' mouths. She still had a smug look on her face, giving the two a wave before closing a sliding door on the two. Lena immediately turned her attention to Naruto. Lena saw a large amount of pain in the face of Naruto. "What's wrong?" Her question was filled with worry as he wore a mask of pain. Naruto sat himself up and looked down at his legs. "Don't worry, every now and again I get shooting pains. It's nothing serious, I swear." Naruto took a minute to breathe as the pain slowly drained from his face. Lena's focus never wavered as she watched Naruto try and ease the pain by himself. Her heart went out to him, truly wishing that she could take his pain away from him. Shaking her head and placing those thoughts to the back of her mind, she focused on trying to free herself from her binds. As she struggled with her bonds, Naruto began to make his way to where he heard Livewire speak before. Peeking in, all he saw was a large white crystal covered in a strange metal casing. As he moved closer, the crystal sprung to life, showing a female figure. She was humanoid, except for the ears that were pointed. She wore white armor and held a long staff with a blade at the end of it. Her eyes opened as she looked down upon Naruto. There was a beat of silence between the two. This was broken by the female figure. "I have found you. Tusich Navasmer." When she finished, she knelt before him, tilting her head downwards. Naruto looked confused at her words before he spoke back to her. "I'm sorry, I don't know what that is, but can you help us? We were kidnapped by Livewire and we need help. Please." As he finished, the woman stood and looked at him once more. "Forgive me, Tusich Navasmer, I am not truly here. I am a living spirit inside this device. It is used to speak across the stars. The woman you spoke of, this Livewire. She speaks to our old kin, the Drakari." Before she could continue, Naruto heard a snapping sound from the other room. He turned back to the crystal and saw that the woman had left. Running back to where he heard the noise, he saw that Lena had freed herself somehow. She turned to Naruto and nodded before reaching down to her shoe and pulled a small button hidden under the sole of her shoes. Before she could press the button, the wall exploded inwards. Lena immediately dropped the device and pulled Naruto into an embrace, keeping her back to the falling pieces of debris. Doing so kept Naruto safe but caused debris to scratch and cut up her back. Naruto looked at the now large hole in the wall and saw his own sister Supergirl hovering outside, her eyes a bright blue with heat. Seeing that it was his sister, he immediately pulled back from Lena and saw her back. Kara shot forward and grabbed Naruto into an embrace of her own. Pulling him into a tight hug, she closed her eyes and placed her face into his neck. She inhaled deeply and stood there for a few moments. Naruto moved his bound arms to try and hug back. Seeing his bindings, a flash of light from Supergirl's eyes made short work of them. Feeling his release, he immediately broke away from Kara and moved towards Lena's fallen form. Naruto pulled off his jacket and put it onto her back. Supergirl, Lena needs medical attention. Could you fly her over to the hospital? Please." After he finished his plea, he turned and focused onto Lena's back. Kara felt a small amount of rage build inside her as she watched Naruto focus on another woman. Kara was blinded by her rage, so she didn't see Lena slip the small discarded device into Naruto's trouser pocket. Lena smiled at Naruto as he immediately came back to her. She felt a large amount of pride fill up in herself as she felt Naruto tending her wounds. Kara angrily stomped over to the two on the ground and grabbed them both in separate arms to keep them off each other. Kara knew she couldn't just drop Lena in the middle of her flight without Naruto trying to dive after her. Accepting the fact that she had to play her role of a hero, Kara shot off through the hole she made. Flying high above National City, Kara felt Naruto holding on tightly and keeping his eyes closed. Kara had a smile on her face seeing this as it brought back memories of them as teens going on late-night flies over the town. Kara completely forgot about the other woman in her hands as she was so fixated on Naruto and didn't see Lena staring at Naruto. Lena hated that she wasn't the one to save Naruto and gain his everlasting gratitude and maybe even his love at this moment. But she knew that her B&B squad had been affected by the chips, so for Lena, it was all a matter of waiting for the perfect moment. After a few more minutes of flight the trio landed in front of National City Hospital, where Naruto and Lena were taken in for examination. Kara spent the rest of the night watching him from above the clouds. While our heroes were resting and healing, Livewire wore a pissed look on her face. Stomping down the alley her heels had made an angry click with each step. Livewire was so caught up in her anger that she failed to see the two other females following her, each wearing a rather provocative dressing and holding weapons. Livewire continued walking before a third figure cut in front of her. Another woman, but this one wore black armor and had a staff in her arms. All three women's skin was a pale shade of white and their hair was raven black. Livewire stopped and seeing she was outnumbered put her hands up. "Okay, I surrender, look, that deal wasn't my fault. If the Girl Scout hadn't shown up you would have gotten yourself a cute new husband and I would be rich." She finished with a smile trying to lighten the situation she found herself in. The leader smiled at Livewire and before she could escape or dodge a whip of light, it wrapped itself around her neck draining her of her powers for a moment. The leader waved again and the second of her assistants had pulled out a syringe, plunging it into Livewire while she couldn't become electricity. Livewire fell landing face first onto the street. "Listen, little one, I don't mind that you failed. In fact, it was part of the plan, I just needed you to get into contact with the gene seed." She continued to speak, but Livewire slumped even more, falling into a deep sleep. Chapter 6. The next day, National City Hospital. Naruto was still being checked over by a number of hospital staff due to his past medical issues. A number of doctors wanted to look over him in case any other issues popped up. The doctors had given him a good amount of positive feedback and had said he would be out of the hospital the next day. Naruto was no stranger to hospitals and had even known some doctors by their first name. Lena had even made some surprising visits, even though Naruto had been hesitant to see her always asking about her injuries. Lena always waved away his fears and stayed to talk with him. They had spoken most of the day and were even received visitors in the forms of his sisters. They had arrived in the morning, even those two were surprised at seeing their brother and Lena laughing away the morning. Seeing them, Naruto turned towards his sisters. "Hey guys, how's it going?" Naruto asked the two before Alex shot forward and pulled him into a hug. Naruto laughed as he felt his sister try to hug the life from him. "It's okay, I'm fine, really, I was scared, but I wasn't hurt." Alex pulled back and looked him in the eyes. "Don't ever do that again, if I have to I will put a tracker in you, I will. I know it wasn't your fault, but please don't let it happen." Alex had small tears in her eyes as she spoke. Naruto nodded before letting a big grin spread over his face, pulling Alex back into a hug. Lena and Kara had to hide their anger from seeing how Alex had taken Naruto's complete attention. After a while Alex soon released him, allowing Kara to swoop in and take her spot, wrapping her arms around his neck, pulling him into her embrace. Kara could feel the glare on her back from Alex. The siblings' hug lasted a few more moments before Kara let him go. "I'm just glad you're okay, you're lucky Supergirl got to you before anything worse happened to you." Naruto nodded while playing along so Lena didn't know about her secret identity. Naruto's stomach then did something no one was expecting, it growled. All Danvers siblings looked shocked as this. Lena, however, had a smile on her face. "Look like you haven't had anything to eat yet, hmm?" Naruto was broken out of his stupor and nodded to her. Lena stood and made her way to the door. "I'll go see if I can get you something, it was good to see you too." Lena made her way through the door, leaving the Danvers siblings alone in the same room. Naruto looked back to his stomach before looking up and seeing his sisters now staring at him. "I already ate everything the doctors gave me." Naruto had a small appetite due to his stomach not being as large as others, and in his full 20 years on Earth his stomach never growled. He was just as shocked as his sisters. Sorry about that, I guess I didn't stuff enough junk into me gob." All eyes shot wide open as Naruto's hands flew to his mouth, covering it. Kara was the first one to speak after that outburst. "What was that? Why did you have an English accent?" Naruto looked as freaked out as she did. I don't know, it just popped out, ah. Naruto suddenly doubled over, causing both of his sisters to grab onto him. Naruto, are you okay? Alex spoke to him as he looked back up. Both sisters gasped as Naruto's eyes had changed from bright blue to blood red in a moment, his lower lips had grown a pair of tusks. Naruto's hand shot up and began to feel his tusks. As Naruto began to panic and touch his tusks, they soon popped back into his gum. Naruto looked back up at his sisters with a look of fear in his eyes. Alex took a breath and focused on what was happening. Okay, we have to take you to the Dio. They have some tech that should tell us what's wrong with you. Naruto nodded at the two and began to stand. As he stood, the door reopened as Lena had come back with a cup of pudding in her hands. They didn't have much, but I was able to snag something, hope you like it. Lena had a smile on her face as she saw Naruto standing and grabbing his cane. Before Alex or Kara could stop their brother, he shot forward, taking the pudding from her hands, ripping the top off, and eating the pudding in one go. Lena was shocked as she watched the pudding get eaten in one go. I didn't think you were that hungry. If you want, I can get more. Naruto looked up, his face had blushed a bright red as he realized what he had done. I'm sorry, but Alex is taking me to a doctor I've gone to before. It's just because he knows more about my issues. Thank you for the pudding, ma'am. I'll be at work as soon as I can. Lena's smile had never left as she watched the siblings walk off. Pulling out her phone, she began to make a call. Gabriel, Naruto just left the hospital, I need you to watch over him. She waited for a response before taking the phone away from her ear and hanging up. As she looked out the window, seeing Naruto, Alex and Kara enter a black van. None of them saw a dark figure jump from a building, and two large metal wings shot out from a backpack, allowing her to follow the car from the sky. It didn't take long for the car to reach the Dio building in the city. There was an awkward moment when Naruto had to change in the car. He didn't see that both his siblings had been staring at him while he changed, with Alex using the driving mirror and Kara using her X-ray vision. As Naruto entered the building, he was subject to a few checks, including a metal detector, a retinal scan and a touchpad. After that, he found himself inside of Alex's lab. Alex had taken a blood sample and watched on a screen with Supergirl standing by her side. Not seeing anything wrong with his blood work, they began to talk between themselves. As his siblings spoke, Naruto began to have a look around the Dio. He found that Win had also begun to work in the Dio. Limping over to the man while he stared at his screens. Win, hey, it's good to see you. Win was surprised to see Naruto here in the Dio. Hey man, how's it going? What are you doing here? Naruto smiled at him. I'm here to get some tests done on me. Something weird happened to me at the hospital, and Alex told me to come here. Win nodded before turning back to his screen. Naruto looked around at the screens displayed. Naruto froze as he looked around, his eyes began to lightly change from blue to green. Suddenly, without warning, Naruto moved towards an unmanned station and began to type at an extreme speed. Win saw this and he tried to get his attention. Naruto, what are you doing? Naruto didn't respond, instead all the screens soon popped up a map of National City. Win watched on without any real way of stopping him. Naruto's head suddenly snapped towards Win, the weapons being used by those criminals. Operate using the electromagnetic spectrum. If you want to deal with them, I would suggest a blackbody field generator. It will short out their weapons and allow for a swift finish. Win was shocked as he heard this. It was genius as he finished. That's genius. Wait, I thought you didn't know how to work a toaster. How did you know how to deal with alien weaponry? Naruto was about to respond before his eyes closed and he fell forward. Win was going to try and catch him before Gus ripped past him, and Kara had already made the save. Naruto. What happened? Kara snapped at Win. Win looked shocked for a moment before speaking. He just walked up to the computers and hacked everything. He then said that to beat the alien weapons you've been encountering with a blackbody field generator. Kara looked confused. Naruto was the worst with technology. He had set a toaster on fire once. Okay, sorry Win. Kara flew Naruto and herself back into Alex's lab, placing him into a tube connected to several screens. Placing him onto the bed, the glass slid over him. He's gonna be okay, right? Kara looked at Alex as she looked over the screens. Looking up, Alex nodded to her sister. They may be rivals for Naruto, but they were still sisters. The scans pulled up a full look into Naruto's body. Everything looked fine until they saw a strange cluster inside of Naruto's heart. It looked like it was spread through his heart and had connections to his spine and brain. The cluster was always changing, creating and destroying cell structures while Naruto slept. Kara and Alex looked concerned as Win and John looked on outside the lab. Alex stared at the cells with a look of confusion on her face. How is that possible? While Alex and Kara continued to look at this strange cluster inside their brother, I can tell you if you wish. Both were shocked when they heard a new voice speaking. Both turned, Alex pulling her gun and Kara taking a fighting stance. Behind them was a female figure wearing a hood covered in armor, wielding a staff in her hands. Pulling down her hood revealed a soft female face with pointed knife-like ears. Her eyes were bright green and her hair was a chestnut brown held in a tight ponytail. Kara and Alex never moved, Wynn looked shocked and John stormed into the room, also drawing his weapon. Alex spoke first, breaking the tense silence in the air. "What is in our brother? And how the hell do you know about?" The woman didn't flinch at the weapons being pointed at her. "I am Farseer and I am here to protect the gene seed holder of the great Tusich Navasmare." She looked over both the DO agents and Supergirl before looking towards Naruto, still asleep in the pod, and knelt before it. "I am here to protect the next Tusich Navasmare as he protects this world from the darkness." The three heroes looked between each other, not knowing what to do at this moment. Chapter 7. Naruto walked around a black void, his cane not with him and his limp non-existent in this weird void. "Hello? Anyone here?" His voice echoed in the nothingness. Looking around, Naruto saw a green light in the distance. "Hey, is anyone here?" He moved towards the light. Soon he heard what sounded like a motor in the distance. Naruto continued to move closer. The light became blinding, making him cover his eyes. The light began to die down. He looked over. He saw a large green muscular figure smashing a hammer into an engine. Naruto hesitated for a minute, but a strange pull made him speak up. Hello, are you okay?" The figure stopped his hammering before turning to the smaller figure. Naruto felt a spike of fear run through him as the larger figure stood over him. There was a full minute of tense silence before the figure grew a huge grin on his face. "Hello little Humi, pleased to meet you." His voice was coarse and one he had heard come from his own mouth. Naruto looked confused when he saw the creature's arm shot out for a handshake. There was a pause as Naruto was a little hesitant before his hand moved forward. The creature wrapped his entire hand around Naruto's hand and wrist and began shaking it furiously up and down. The creature's smile never left his face as he let go of Naruto's hand. "Right, I never told you me name, it's Killa. What's your name, Humi?" Naruto blinked as he steadied himself on the ground. I'm Naruto Danvers, pleased to meet you." Naruto was shocked at this large figure, never seeing anything like him before. Killa suddenly turned and saw his strange engine start to spark. "Right, Humi Naruto, here hold this." Killa pushed the hammer into Naruto's hand, while Killa's larger form let him hold it in one. Naruto had to hold it in both arms. Naruto followed Killa as the larger figure held onto the engine. "Right, Humi, hit this with your hammer and hope it don't blow." Naruto looked surprised as he heard this but did as he was told. Naruto swung heavily, the hammer smashing into the engine. Naruto was fully expecting it to explode in their faces. His face had a look of surprise as he saw the engine stop sparking and it began to lightly pulse with green energy. Killa started to laugh. "Ha ha ha, good job Humi, it's gonna zogging work." Killa roared into the void. Naruto had a look of confusion on his face as he looked at the engine. It was scraped together using different metals and a fan held together by belts. "I don't want to burst your bubble, but I don't think this is gonna work. It's kind of scraped together." Killa's laughing never stopped before smacking Naruto in the back. His large hand almost caused Naruto to fall and faceplant as he looked at his invention. "Don't worry Humi friend, this is gonna be my way to." He stopped speaking, all humor left him in that moment. Killa grabbed an axe off the floor, looking out into the darkness. Naruto looked confused but held onto the hammer ready to fight whatever was out there. Killa was focused. Looking back at Naruto, "Humi, stay behind me, this git needs a zogging head stomp." Naruto didn't see anything in the darkness but did as he was told. Swimming towards them, like a shark stalking his prey, was a dark purple figure that moved closer to the two. As it raised its body, it was bug-like in appearance, it had large pincers for arms and it also had a second pair of arms. Naruto could only watch as Killa and the bug creature began circling each other. Naruto felt that spike of fear again as he watched the two creatures watch each other. Before either could lunge for the other, Naruto felt himself being pulled away. Naruto soon landed holding the hammer in front of his body to defend himself. Looking around, he saw something strange. A humanoid figure was looking over the darkness. He was much smaller and thinner than Killa, but he was still taller than Naruto. He turned, showing Naruto his face. He had bright green eyes, his hair was white and flowed down his back. He looked at Naruto and smiled, it was a kind smile filled with warmth. "Hello there. I've wanted to meet you for a long time." Naruto froze for a moment looking over the man in front of him. "You know me?" His question was met by a light chuckle from the man. He stopped laughing before looking into Naruto's eyes. "Yes, I will not lie to you. I create you to become a weapon to defend my home. But when I saw what I had done to a child, I knew that I had failed when I made a child to be used against my old kin." As the man spoke, Naruto found himself listening. He wanted to interrupt, but the man held a hand up to stop him. "Naruto, I created you by finding primitive humans and extracting everything I needed to birth you. However, when I saw what I had done to a child for my own ambition, I knew that I had already failed my people by resorting to such cruel and unneeded ways." Naruto was shocked when he saw tears start to form in the man's eyes. The man stopped his guilt-filled speech. Naruto looked into his eyes and saw genuine regret and grief of his actions. In my cowardice and fear I doomed a child to feel a constant war inside their own body, I couldn't let that happen. I sent you away with a dear friend of mine through a webway that would send you to a different universe altogether. I have failed you. Naruto lunged forward, the man's eyes closed expecting the hammer to crush his skull and end his eternal life inside his creation. The never came as a pair of arms wrapped around his body and a warm feeling soon spread from his chest. Naruto had latched onto him, hugging him tightly. You're the reason the Danvers family found me and raised me as their own, you've made mistakes, but you made up for them by sending me to a real family. The man wept as he heard this, a great burden was taken from his shoulders. As his tears fell onto Naruto's hair, they stayed like that for a full minute as Naruto allowed him to shed his tears of regret and shame. Naruto let him go and stood before him. So please help me figure out where I am. The man nodded and rose to stand with Naruto. Naruto looked over the darkness and let out a whistle. Well, this is going to be fun. Where to first? The man chuckled and shook his head. You will wake up soon and an old friend will be there to greet you. She is overzealous in her vow to watch over you, so please don't take any offense to what she does. The man faced Naruto and placed his thumb on his forehead. Naruto watched as the man's eyes turned white before hearing his voice again, but this time his lips did not move. I forgot to say, before you wake up, that my name is Phoenix Lord Kuranshi. Smiling once again at Naruto, Kuranshi closed his eyes and Naruto felt as if his world was turned upside down. Naruto's eyes slowly opened. As his vision began to clear, he saw Kara and Alex right next to his bed. He shot up too quickly and didn't see he was incussed by a machine, causing his head to bounce off the glass. Ow, that hurt a lot more than I thought it would. He joked while rubbing his skull. Alex immediately pulled the release on the machine and alongside Kara helped Naruto sit upright. What happened? I turned my back on you for 1 second and you put yourself into a coma. Naruto had the decency to look embarrassed at that. Kara watched Naruto not saying anything and ignoring the voices screaming at her to pick him up and fly to the fortress from her own mind. Instead, she put her hand on his arm and just smiled at him, letting him know she was there for him. Naruto's smile never left his face as he listened to them, but soon his attention was taken from his sisters to the figure hovering at the doorway. The Farseer walked into the lab with the grace of a dancer and her steps were completely silent. The Farseer looked at him for a moment before kneeling in front of him. Naruto's hand shot out and stopped her from going all the way down. Looking up, the Farseer saw not the blue eyes of Naruto Danvers looking back at her, but instead the light green of her master Lord Kuranshi. The Farseer could only stare at these eyes before with a blink they were gone. You're the Farseer, right? Naruto spoke his question, breaking her focus and returning her to the scene in front of her. Naruto continued, not waiting for an answer. I met the man you call master in my head, he seems kind, and I'm sure that his faith in you isn't misguided, so let's introduce ourselves properly. My name is Naruto Danvers, what's yours? The Farseer saw that Naruto from his bed had stretched out his hand for her to shake. Farseer looked to the offered appendage before taking his hand in hers and shaking it in greeting. I am Farseer Lysis, I am to be your protector from your first true breath until your last. Her vow was absolute and her will was that of iron as she spoke. Kara and Alex glared at her as she took their brother's arms, each ignoring the feeling of anger build up inside them. Naruto's smile had grown into a full-blown grin. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, I'm sure we can get to. Naruto was interrupted by his phone beginning to ring during his greetings. He looked apologetic to Lysis, but she waved off his concern, taking the phone in his hands, not seeing his sisters smile at his background, which was all of them. Naruto looked at the new message he got and immediately began to panic. Oh no, I forgot that I agreed to go tonight. Ms. Luther is gonna be so mad. Kara got a small twitch in her eye when she heard him say another woman's name. Whereas Alex simply balled up her fists and hid them behind her back. Naruto stood and grabbed his cane that had been placed beside him. I'm so sorry everyone, but I agreed to go with Ms. Luther to a charity party tonight and I'm already late. He bowed multiple times in apology before running out the room. Chapter 8. Naruto limped as quickly as he could, his cane matching his step as he rushed down the street back to his apartment to get changed. As he moved, there was a moment of pause when he remembered his roommate. The spike of fear ran through him as he thought about her and how he hadn't let her know about anything that had happened. He swallowed his fear and decided he would just deal with the consequences. Naruto marched on. It didn't take long for him to reach his apartment, he stopped just outside the door. Taking a deep breath, he made his way in. The apartment was quiet as he entered. He walked forward. As he entered the front room, he saw Lyra was asleep on the couch. Naruto felt bad as he saw she was holding her phone in one hand, with the background being her and Naruto when they first moved in. Deciding not to wake her, instead he just simply laid a large blanket over her and took her phone from her hand and placed it onto the table. He then went to his room and pulled out his only suit. It wasn't anything fancy, but Ms. Luther always told him it didn't matter as long as he was there she would be happy. Nodding to himself, Naruto made his way to the bathroom where after a quick shower, he had cleaned himself up to a respectable degree, well he hoped he did. Naruto wasn't a big party person, but since Ms. Luther asked him he would. He also knew he would see the Beauty and the Beast squad there, and they always made these kinds of events more tolerable. Shaking himself from a path down memory lane, he looked at himself in the mirror, nodding to himself as he made his way to Ms. Luther's party. He was ready to call a taxi before a black car pulled in front of him. Naruto paused for a moment before he saw a woman exit from the back of the car. Naruto immediately recognized her as a member of the unit. She had short blonde almost white hair, and she wore a black dress that had a single line cut into the left leg. She was while on duty known as Laughing Octopus, but without her suit she was simply Eva. Naruto smiled at her as she pulled him into an embrace, lightly kissing both of his cheeks as she did so. Naruto let out an awkward chuckle as she did so. Lina asked me to bring you to the party, she knew you would try and walk there or take a cab. Eva answered the unasked question, causing Naruto to nod and follow her back into the car. Eva looked at the driver through his window and nodded, causing him to start driving to the event. Naruto spoke first as the car began to move, so how have you been? Your suit isn't giving you any issues, is it? Naruto always wanted the suits to keep the girls safe, even if that meant he would have to work himself into the ground. Eva chuckled at this. I have been well, our therapist told me I was the best among my comrades, so I'm holding that over their heads for the rest of the year. Naruto laughed at this. Both happy that the girls were getting along and that Eva was making progress in her therapy. Seeing Naruto smile, Eva began to smile back at him. Eva felt her heartbeat quicken while watching him. She knew about the chip in her suit, but she didn't care. Naruto was happy with her, that's the only thing that matters to her. The rest of the car ride was filled with small talk and laughter. The driver's focus was completely on the road, not once looking back at them. Naruto had always liked Eva, she was the first of the girls to call herself his friend, and she had helped him get to know the rest of his team. The drive was soon over, and Eva almost shouted in anger at this before she saw Naruto fidget with his cane. Eva reached out, placing her hand onto Naruto's, causing him to look at her and her confident smile and gain a small amount of confidence himself. As they entered the building, Eva linked their arms and walked him towards the elevators, telling him the party was on the roof. As they stood waiting for it to reach the top floor, Eva noticed that Naruto's tie was slightly off. Taking the opportunity the universe had given her, she pulled Naruto close and began to sort his tie. Eva took extra pleasure seeing Naruto turn his head with a blush covering his cheeks. Eva had to stop herself from simply stopping the elevator and dragging Naruto towards a place where he would be safe for the rest of time. Shaking herself free from those thoughts. She remembered the mission and let Naruto's tie go after straightening it. Placing herself back at his side, the doors slid open as Eva relinked her arms in Naruto's. The party was already underway, people wearing fine suits and dresses mingled and pranced around. Naruto always felt out of place at these events. Whenever he was forced to go to these events, he always tried to blend into the background or hide away from everyone until he was allowed to leave. That wasn't an option for him tonight, as Eva stayed linked to him. Eva had begun to move, causing him to follow behind. Naruto saw that her target was the open bar. He saw that there was another woman who he was always happy to see. Standing at the bar was a woman with black hair and dark skin wearing a red dress that complemented her body. She looked bored for all intents and purposes. She was lazily stirring her drink with a straw. She perked up as she spied them. This is another member of the Beauty and Beast unit. She is usually known as Raging Raven when she is working, but now she is simply Anna. She waved them over. Naruto never saw Eva's glare as he moved towards Anna. Anna, it's great to see you again, how's your suit? The flight is stable, right? Anna giggled at Naruto's show of concern. My suit is fine, especially now that you smoothed out the wing. I'm fine as well, thanks for the concern. Naruto looked flustered at that. Eva made her presence felt again. Naruto, what do you want to drink? Naruto turned back to her, not seeing Anna's eye twitch. Not knowing that the two teammates were trying to keep his attention on them, Naruto spoke. I'll just have a lemonade, please. Eva nodded and got the bartender's attention. Anna was about to start speaking again when Lina walked over to the trio. Anna almost shot to attention when Lina approached. Eva was much more relaxed about this, choosing to simply lean against the bar and turning to face her. Eva, Anna, it's good to see you too. Would you mind if I borrowed Naruto for a moment? Naruto looked surprised at this. Neither Anna or Eva gave any disagreement, allowing Lina to link her arm with his, not unlike what Eva had done when they entered. Naruto limped with Lina, ignoring a lot of the looks they were receiving. Lina, however, looked proud as she walked with Naruto. She wanted to talk with Naruto more before Supergirl descended down from the sky. She stopped for a moment seeing Naruto so close to another woman made her blood boil. She breathed, pushing down those feelings and focusing on Lena. I still think this might be a bad idea. Lena shook her head. Well, why don't we wait and see how the evening pans out? Her smile felt stiff as she looked at Supergirl. Nodding her head, Supergirl took a quick look around the party. I'll check the perimeter for any activity and I'll be back at the first sign of danger. She shot back up into the sky, far beyond what normal people could see. Naruto looked around and saw Kara approach them, fixing her glasses as she walked. Lena also noticed her and spoke. Kara, you just missed Supergirl. Kara looked shocked at that. Naruto had to turn to hide his smile. Did I, golly. Looking back to Naruto, Kara saw that he was holding back laughter and that Lena still had his arm locked with hers. Lena pulled Naruto to go speak with some rich guy who was funding a part of L Corporation. While they spoke, Naruto began to look around and saw that Win and James were talking in hushed tones. He saw that Mon-El and Kara were speaking to each other about something that he couldn't hear. Naruto was pulled out of his observations as he heard his name spoken. Turning back to Lena and one of the investors, yes, so I'm told that you're the mind behind those beast suits. Well, a contact of mine was wondering if they could be weaponized. They say that they will pay a large sum for something like that. Hearing this, Naruto shook his head negatively. I'm sorry to hear that, sir, but the suits aren't for military use. Please tell your contact that the suits are for humanitarian uses only. The man developed a sour look on his face hearing that. Lena, seeing this was about to start going downhill, tried to intervene. Before anyone could do anything, a small explosion soon stole everyone's attention. Three figures, each holding a large alien weapon, each strutted forward. My, look how many pretty things there are. Lena walked forward, ignoring Naruto trying to stop her. Oh, you picked the wrong party to crash. The leader reached forward. Oh, I don't think so, princess. Snatching her necklace from her as he finished. Shouting over to the rest of the crowd, he continued. Alright, I'm gonna keep this real simple, people. Hand over every ring, pearl, diamond, watch, wallet and no one gets disintegrated. Naruto could see the other two cronies snatching another necklace as their leader spoke. As they started grabbing people's belongings, Supergirl had made another appearance floating above the robbers. Did you really think I wouldn't be here? The leader of the gang turned to her with a smirk on his face. Actually, we were counting on it. His weapon had begun spinning to life and fired a bright yellow beam toward Supergirl. The beam was met by heat vision. The two beams of light met, neither overpowering the other. One of the other gang members fires a purple wave, causing Supergirl to crash into the floor below. Shaking herself clear and shooting back into the air. The third member had been firing a beam of light at people trying to escape. Naruto, seeing him, felt a deep rage burning inside himself. He never saw the change in his skin tone going from pale to a light green. With a force he didn't know he had, he lunged forward, tackling the gunman. He began to hammer him with lefts and rights onto his downed form. The gunman managed to catch him with his gun, knocking Naruto away and forcing his body to revert. Kara had stayed in the firing down at the gunman whenever she got a shot in. This continued until Jimmy had got himself at the end of one of the guns. Kara shot forward, taking the blast that would have killed James in a second. Looking up at the three gunmen, Kara tried to match the fire of the leader's gun with her heat vision once again. This time the leader and his cronies had backed each other up. The three beams were slowly overpowering Kara's. Naruto, seeing this, panicked. His hand shot forward, the green colorization leaving his body, and a bright white lightning fired, managing to catch one of the gunmen in the back before a wave of energy soon pulsed from underneath the stage. The third gunman had turned and saw Naruto with his hand outstretched. He was about to change targets when his weapon shot away from his arms into the air, along with the other two guns. The three weapons collided mid-air and exploded. The leader looked around, shocked, as others began to move from their hiding points. Lena, Win and Eva and Anna walked out from underneath the stage, Anna holding a knife before returning it to a sheath on her upper thigh. Eva doing the same. Lena was the first to see Naruto sitting up, holding onto his arm in pain. Rushing over, she knelt down beside him. Naruto, what happened? Eva and Anna were at Lena's side as she approached, both wearing expressions of fear at seeing Naruto in pain. Naruto breathed for a moment and looked back at his hands. I'm fine, really, just caught my hand on one of the barrels or something. Smiling up at them, Naruto hoped that saying this would calm people down. All three gunmen were taken into custody. Naruto was able to get away from the large crowd after giving his explanation of what happened. Heading home, he decided he just needed to rest. It didn't take that long for him, even with a cane. He entered the apartment, seeing Lyra still asleep on the couch, deciding he would let her rest for the rest of the night. He fell upon his bed soon. Naruto slept, not seeing his window was open and that there was a figure in the room, placing several cameras hidden from sight before turning to leave, stopping herself before she made it to the window. Instead turned and walked towards Naruto's sleeping form. Giving Naruto a quick peck on his lips, there was no response as Naruto's exhaustion had knocked him out completely. Smiling to herself, she got bolder and placed another kiss onto his lips. Pulling herself back, she placed a letter sealed with a bright red lipstick mark. This time she left, jumping from the window, an arrow firing into the distance and swinging away. Chapter 9. Naruto awoke the next day, his body was still stiff and sore from last night's events. Making his way to the bathroom, he began to wash himself in the shower. His moment was interrupted when the curtain was suddenly pulled away. Panicking, Naruto covered himself quickly. Lyra stood there, arms crossed, a look of rage on her face. "Where were you? I asked you to call me if anything happened, and instead you leave me alone, no text, no call. But you have time to get into trouble at a charity event." Naruto stood there accepting the verbal bashing he was getting. Lyra wasn't letting up either as she continued. "Not only that, but when you do come home, instead of letting me know you're safe, you just up and leave again." Her questions were rhetorical. Naruto had the decency to look ashamed as she finished. "I know I'm not your sister or your boss. But I do care about you. Please stop getting yourself in so much trouble." Lyra began to cry, and her emotions were on full display as Naruto continued looking down. Naruto pulled her into a hug, not caring about his lack of clothing. Lyra continued to cry into his shoulder. Naruto just stood, letting her use him as a shoulder to cry on. They stayed that way for a while longer, until Naruto felt Lyra's tears stop. Pulling back from her slowly, Naruto looked her in the eyes. "I'm sorry for all the trouble I caused for you." Naruto poked her head using his fingers. "I promise I'll keep you in the loop from now on, and that's the promise of a lifetime." Naruto finished with a big grin on his face as he said that. Lyra blinked at that statement before matching his grin with one of her own. Naruto's grin broke as he realized that he was still naked. "Lyra. Get out, I'm naked." Jumping back into the shower, Naruto pulled the curtain back and just stood under the water. After finishing in the shower, Naruto began to take the large amount of medication he needed. His body had been strange the last few days. Normally he had to use his cane for everything, and his punches couldn't hurt a fly, but at the party he lunged at a larger gunman and pummeled into him. He could remember barely a week ago that his body could barely hold itself up. Ever since the night Livewire kidnapped him and Lena, he had begun to see some changes. His body felt lighter almost, but he had begun to see muscle building up. It wasn't much, but it gave his body a more athletic look, like a swimmer. His legs still didn't fully work, but he was used to that. Returning to his room, he saw a strange letter on his bedside desk. Looking back, he saw Lyra was in the kitchen making what looked like some kind of meat. Grabbing the letter, he was hit by the scent of roses and lavender. Opening the letter, Naruto began to read what was written. "Naruto, I know we have never spoken in person, but I cannot help the feelings I feel for you in my heart. I have to know if you feel the same. Please meet me in front of Noonan's at 12. Naruto was confused as he gave the letter another once over. Looking shocked at the letter, he had to put down a blush that tried to crawl over his face. Sliding open one of his bedside drawers, Naruto shoves the letter inside and prepares for work. Naruto moved into the kitchen, seeing Lyra eating a large meat-based meal for breakfast. Naruto sighed as he saw this. "Please remember to brush your teeth. I'm worried they are going to fall out." Naruto spoke to her as he grabbed an apple. Lyra looked annoyed by that, but nodded anyway. Naruto was happy about this. He limped over to the door. He opened it to show Farseer Lysis at his door. "Ah, hello, it's good to see you again, Lysis." Lyra looked over towards the new woman and lightly grumbled to herself. Lysis looked towards Naruto. "My lord, forgive me for being so rude and forward, but I need you to come with me. It is time for you to begin to learn how to use the gene seed inside of your body." Naruto looked conflicted at that as he looked at Lysis. "I have work and I have other stuff after that, and the lab is really busy right now." As he listed off reasons he couldn't leave with her, yet he had already started walking to the elevator. Lysis followed right behind him as limped forward. "I understand this, and I have decided I will no longer shrink from my duties to you." Naruto pressed a button and turned to see Lysis kneeling to him again. "I am your sword and shield, my lord. I will teach you the way of the elder and of the way to truly use the weapon in your heart." Lysis' eyes never left the floor after her declaration of intent. Naruto gaped like a fish as he looked at her. He heard the doors slid open, and an older couple saw the knife-eared woman kneeling before a younger man with a cane. "We'll take the next one, sorry." Nodding, the older woman pressed a button, causing them to disappear. Naruto's head snapped back to Lysis. "You can't just kneel to people in the middle of the day. It makes people think of the wrong thing." Lysis looked up as he spoke, nodding as he finished. She stood and pressed the button again, calling the elevator to them. Standing right next to Naruto, she turned to him again. "Very well then. But I will be your protector as I swore to you I would. The gene seed was created as a weapon, but my lord swore you would never become what he made you to be, and I will keep his vow." Naruto was shocked at her dedication and nodded. He didn't see any issue with her coming with him to work if it was just for today. When the doors slid open once again, this time the elevator was empty, allowing both Naruto and Lysis to enter without any strange looks or stares. They stood there in silence for a moment. "So I need to know what a gene seed is." And how was I supposed to be a weapon? Lisa sighs sadly as the question brings up memories of a time where they were in a darker time. Looking back to him, you were made to be a weapon, you know this already when you and my master last spoke. But what you don't know is that our war was with our own brothers and sisters. We called them Drakari, the closest translation is Dark Elder. They had been attacking our craftworld ships and running with what they could hold. In a last-ditch effort by Karanchi he created something and had us fly all across the universe to collect samples, DNA he even had us find some old enemies and stole them. Before she could continue the bell tinged and the doors slid open. They both left Lisa's walking directly side by side with Naruto as she continued her speech. When he did so and told us he was finished he took a single ship and collected 2 humans. He took the means to create you from them an egg and semen. That made Naruto blush lightly. Shaking her head lightly at this Lisa's continued, he took these back to our craft world, our home and hid himself away in his laboratory for over 5 years creating you and making sure the gene seed would adjust to your body, but there were complications, your muscle mass was weakened and your body was slowed in its development. She motioned down to his cane and leg. The gene seed would have allowed you, when fully trained, to be able to access the DNA of any race we were able to collect, the strength and the genetic memories of the orcs. Allowing you to adapt to all things like the Tyranids and able to grow bioweapons claws and pincers. That is only scratching the surface of what you would be able to do. Naruto and Lisa's continued walking down the street. Naruto ignored the stares and looks directed at the two of them. Instead he is focused on Lisa's. When Karanchi realized what he had done as he looked down at your small form, he swore no one would be able to use you as that weapon. He spoke to me in private, taking me aside and placing his own blood into the gene seed. He took you and I to a small ship and asked me to protect you. I failed in that regard and I have no excuse for that. But you have grown into a fine young man. Naruto was slightly blushing again as he heard this. Lisa smiled at that and continued walking. Now that you have been exposed to elder machinery, the gene seed reacted. It began to slightly adapt your body. Orc Na and your muscle tissue slowly grew them, the Tyranid hardened your bones, Elder made your body adapt to its peak. Naruto nodded, already seeing the effects up close. Then how come I still have a limp and how come my legs are weaker than the rest of my body? Alice nodded at the question. Your legs are weaker because that part of the adaptation is locked behind several bio-locks. Trust me, there are some things that should stay locked away for a while. Lisa looked saddened when she said that. Naruto chose not to ask too much in case he brought up a sad memory. Okay, no problem. Hey, when we get to work let me do the talking, I'm afraid you might come off as forward. Lisa nodded, agreeing with him. It didn't take long for the two to walk to L Corporation. Naruto walked in and showed his ID badge to the front desk before asking for a guest pass for Lisa's. Naruto took the elevator down to his lab. The Beast Lab as it was nicknamed, this was something Naruto hated but didn't complain about. Lisa's followed right behind him, her face wearing an unimpressed mask as she walked. Naruto, I have to ask, what is it you're doing here? These Monkey barely grasp what you know, so I work for them. Naruto looked back at her. Well, right now I'm going to my office, then to the lab to double check the suits for the girls. Also everyone here is good to work with and Lena is a great boss, so I guess I like working here. He answered before turning back to her. What's a Monkey? Lisa looked at him. It's a word we call humans, it means monkey. Naruto almost tripped at how nonchalant she was with the saying. Naruto continued walking to his office, choosing not to ask any more questions for now. It didn't take long for the pair to get to his office. It was simple with only a desk and computer. There were however a large amount of framed photos on the desk, each one was of him and someone in his life, Kara, Alex, Eva and Anna, he even had one of him and Miss Luther. Sitting down behind the desk, he offered Lisa a seat. So I am working on the Beauty and the Beast unit suits. They are an advanced emergency response unit and I am basically their pit stop. I work on the suits, I help develop ways to keep them protected and able to work in a quick minute. Lisa nodded, her eyes never leaving Naruto as he spoke. Very well, then for the rest of the day I shall be your shadow. She never took the seat offered, instead she stood directly to his left, standing guard over him. Naruto looked a little uneasy about this, but chose to keep quiet. Signing back into his workstation, he began his daily routine when at work. Naruto spent a good hour going over things, looking back from his screen to a small journal he kept in his drawer. Lisa never moved. She stood by his side like a statue. Naruto had stayed in his station for all the morning, there were no requests for suit maintenance or for any kind of upgrades. He didn't know why, but his workload had been lighter recently. Shaking his head, he decided not to let the lower amount of work bother him. Looking at his watch, he saw that it was 11:30, even he was shocked at how much time he had been zoned out for with what little work he had. Rubbing his eyes, he stood. Lisa once again began to move with him moving, so he could move out from behind the desk. Shaking his head at how she acted, Naruto was ready to just walk towards the cafeteria and eat lunch there before he remembered the letter he was given. Naruto couldn't just leave someone waiting without any kind of explanation, so he decided to meet his supposed love. Naruto turned so he was looking at Lisa's. "Listen, I have a meeting with someone in front of a cafe. I'm sorry to have to ask, but could you give me a little space while I do it?" Naruto was nervous as he asked. He didn't want to insult her or make her feel bad about guarding him. Lisa nodded. "If you wish I can keep an eye on you and you won't know that I am present." Naruto didn't like the wording of that answer, but nodded anyway, thankful that she took it so well. The two left, neither one seeing the tiny cameras in Naruto's office blink off. Lina sat in her office looking at her laptop as the multiple feeds were shut off as Naruto left. Before sighing to herself and picking up the framed photo of her and Naruto working on the first beast suit. She began to slowly run her finger over Naruto's picture. She continued like this for some time before placing a kiss onto the photo and returning to work. While she did love Naruto, she knew that it was up to her to keep him safe, pulling up the blueprints for a special chamber for him to stay in with her. Her thoughts began to travel down a darker path as she thought about herself and Naruto only needing each other. Naruto's cane continued to match his step as he walked towards his destination. He ignored the stares of pity he got from people due to the cane and marched on. He made his way to Noonan's trying to plan out what he was going to say in advance. So caught up in his thoughts he nearly missed his destination. Shaking himself out of it, he looked around. Sitting down at a table, he sat there silently worried that this whole thing had been a practical joke. He shook his head and tried to focus on who could want to love him. Naruto knew that he wasn't the best looking person in the world, and with everything going on lately, he didn't want anyone to be dragged into something they didn't know or want anything bad happening to them. While Naruto shrunk into himself, a woman with red hair walked towards his table and sat across from him, breaking him out of his pit of doubt. Are you the one who left me this?" Pulling out the letter, the woman had a warm smile on her face as she stared at Naruto. She nodded before speaking. "Yes, my name is Carrie Cutter. I know it was strange of me to leave a simple letter to tell you how I feel about you." She was forward with her feelings, and Naruto could understand that. "But I had to know if you would love me the same way I love you." Naruto was surprised at how quickly she dropped a love bomb, even though this was the first time they met. Naruto's hands began to play with the head of his cane. "Listen, I'm not sure about love because we did just meet each other." Naruto didn't see the small twitch of Carrie's mouth before he continued. "But I don't want you to think that your feelings are being ignored, so if you want we could try and go slow." Carrie felt as if her whole world had just bloomed into life as she heard this. Reaching over, she took Naruto's hands in hers. "Yes, that's all I want." Naruto was shocked at how loudly she proclaimed her answer. She pulled him into an embrace, placing her head on his neck. Naruto never saw her eyes slowly lose color as she held him. Blissfully unaware of the dark thoughts slowly crawling into Carrie's mind. He was even more unaware of the multiple women who had now begun vying for his attention and, more importantly, his love. Chapter 10. After spending his entire lunch speaking and getting to know Carrie, Naruto had to return to work. Carrie seemed saddened by this but accepted. Leaving her at Noonan's, Naruto began to make his way back to work. Taking out his phone, he realized he was going to be late. Trying to walk quicker with a cane is a lot harder than it looked. Naruto was able to make it back to work only a few minutes late. Limping back into the building, he entered the elevator and watched the doors slide closed. "Hey, hold the elevator." Naruto was quick to put his hand between the doors, causing them to stop and reopen. Lina walked into the elevator and Naruto smiled at her. Returning it, she stood by his side as the doors closed. "I have to say, I think this is the first time you've ever been late getting back to work. What's the occasion?" Lina's grin was on full display as Naruto heard this. Naruto had a blush slowly creep onto his face and tried to hide in a corner. "I met someone and we started talking, that's all." Lina froze for a moment as she heard this. Slowly turning to Naruto, she spoke again with a slight hitch in her throat. "You met someone, what's their name?" It took all of Lina's resolve not to scream out in anger as she heard this, instead choosing to get information and silence this new upstart. Naruto was about to answer before the doors slid open again. Both occupants were surprised when Kara was standing there. "Hey guys, how's it going?" Naruto had a big smile on his face as he saw his sister. "I'm good, I was actually coming to see Lina, but I'm glad I caught up to you both. I'm going down to Al's later tonight and I wanted to know if you would both want to come." Naruto smiled but looked down as he heard this. Lina was annoyed at being interrupted during her time with Naruto. "Sorry Kara, but I already had plans for tonight." Kara looked surprised at that before the elevator came to a stop once again. Naruto apologized before getting off, leaving his sister and boss alone in the elevator. Kara and Lina took a second to watch Naruto leave, both losing himself in their fantasies of Naruto alone with him. Shaking themselves back to reality, Kara turned to Lina. "I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for what happened last time you came to game night." Lena looked surprised at this but responded immediately, Kara, what happened wasn't your fault. Me and your brother were kidnapped, but thanks to Supergirl nothing happened, all I have are scrapes and bruises. Kara looked relieved at that. Good, but I still wanted to apologize anyway. Hey, do you know what Naruto has planned tonight? Lena looked towards Kara surprised she didn't already know, she assumed Naruto told his sisters everything. He must not have gotten to it yet. Apparently Naruto has found himself a girlfriend. Lena noticed how Kara froze as she heard this, shaking her head. Her stop came up soon, allowing her to step off. She looked back as Kara followed. Still in shock. Is it that shocking he has one? I know he is quiet, but he isn't hard on the eyes, and he is kind, so I'm surprised no one has been snapping at his heels before. She missed the small twitch in Kara's eyes and her hand tightening into a fist. No, I didn't, and I get it, but he is my brother, so I worry, that's all. Kara tried to play it off, but a screaming in her head said otherwise. Taking a deep breath, she continued to speak with Lena. So did he tell you what her name was? She hoped Naruto had, so that this new woman could take a one-way trip to the sun. Lena shook her head negatively. She wanted to hear the woman's name so that her new toy soldiers could end her miserable existence, but she had to wait for now, believing the opportunity would show itself when ready. The two women continued to speak in Lena's office, neither one knowing about the love the other had for Naruto and what they would do to get it all for themselves. Naruto went back to his office, deciding to hide there until his shift was over. He decided to try and date Carrie, but was wary as his sisters had a bad overprotective streak whenever girls were involved. Naruto shook his head, avoiding that trip down memory lane. He logged back into his computer and began to go through anything else that needed his attention. Naruto looked at the screen before a voice took his focus away from the screen. Oi boss. Is this thing on? Naruto looked around confused. He was the only one in the room. Hello. Naruto spoke out. There was no response from inside or outside his office. Naruto was about to shake it off as stress before the voice spoke again. Boss. It's me Killa, I made this thing so we could talk, ain't I da best mech boy Eva? Naruto closed his eyes and realized that Killa, his orc friend inside the gene seed, had found a way to speak to him. Killa? What's wrong with you, all good in there? Whispering to himself, he was met by a loud laugh in his head. This is da best was name Eva. Oi piss off yous ogging pansy. Naruto heard a small fight, which was strange, considering it was coming from inside his body and in his mind. Soon a new voice spoke up. Naruto, are you there? Naruto realized that he was now speaking to Karanshi, and he was surprised that they had changed who he was talking to. Naruto responded, still confused about what was happening to him. Yeah, I'm here. How are you talking to me? I thought you were all in the gene seed. Naruto's question was met with a heavy sigh from Karanshi, almost like a teacher with an unruly student. It seems I underestimated the orc's ability to somehow change the world they are in with simple scrap, but not to worry, soon I will be the only one you speak to, and I will show you how to get off me, you overgrown fungus. Naruto flinched at how the volume seemed to triple at the end of his speech. Da boss is gonna be a warbus, not da pansy ld git. Naruto could hear what sounded like a fight inside of his mind before a small unknown voice spoke up. Hello young one, it is a pleasure to speak with you. Naruto was surprised that the new voice was simply speaking to him. It sounded female and was calm and serene. A huge difference from Killa's loud and boisterous voice and Karanchi's prideful voice. I'm fine, who are you? I don't think I met you when I was in the gene seed. He was met by a kind laugh, it was like a kind mother. We did not meet here, that's true, my name is Shasoviari, I was also called Commander Everflum. It is a pleasure to meet you, young Naruto. Naruto began to wonder just how many beings were inside of his body, as he felt like he was always meeting someone new. Hey, get away from my wasaname. Your auntie little git. Killa's voice returned with a vengeance as he shouted at Shaso. Naruto took a deep breath, trying to calm his mind as he continued to hear the fight. He put his head into his hands before shaking it and focusing. Lisa said that he had a small amount of power over the gene seed and closed his eyes. Naruto sat there for a full minute only focusing on his breathing. Naruto's eyes opened and found himself back into the void. He saw that Killa and Karanchi were in a fight and a blue-skinned woman with bright red hair trying to get them off of each other. Taking a deep breath, Naruto chose to try and take control of the situation. Hey. Stop fighting, please. All three individuals soon turned to him. Naruto had a blush on his face as he was now the center of attention. Please stop fighting, I know you're all different, but please, I'm the one you're all in, and I don't want everyone fighting anymore. Naruto looked at the three, hoping that they would understand that their fighting was awful for him to listen to. All three looked between themselves and nodded. Karanchi moved closer and placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Alright, I apologize, my actions were undignified and unnecessary. I should have known that the orc would have found a way to speak directly to your mind. Karanchi looked away as he regretted his actions. Shaso bowed in front of him, also regretful of her actions. I apologize, I should have tried to control the situation better, I will never allow it to happen again. Shaso finished standing up fully. She was taller than he was and stood a good head taller than Naruto. Killa was next, walking over his wrench in his hands. Sorry boss. It was a simple apology, but Naruto knew he was being sincere. Naruto turned back to Shaso, thinking about his words carefully before speaking. I'm sorry, I don't want to come off as rude, but what are you? I've never seen anyone like you before. His question was met by that happy laugh again. It is alright Naruto, I doubt anyone would have told you about my kind. I am a warrior for the Tao Empire, we are not the oldest beings, but we are the defenders of the greater good. Naruto saw that Killa had turned away and began to work on a pile of scrap, and Karachi had simply turned away from the conversation. Between you and I, the Tao have the best weaponry out of everyone you'll meet. Shaso got close as she said this, trying to keep Killa from hearing. That got a chuckle out of Naruto, knowing Killa was big on weapons, or as he called them, shooters. Naruto smiled as he continued to speak to Shaso. They spoke about the Tao and their mech suits, and of Shaso leader, Commander Farsight. She spoke to him about stories of their battles with the orcs. Naruto sat there for what felt like hours listening to her tales of battle. Naruto spoke up, an idea crossing his mind. Would I be able to build a battlesuit outside of this place? This got all three occupants' attention. Killa's grin soon covered his face, Karachi adopted a thoughtful expression, and Shaso was thinking about it. Dilla pushed the other two away and began shaking Naruto as he spoke. Boss, that's a zogging good un. Naruto was trying to regain his bearing before he heard the others speak up. It would be possible, but instead of making whatever the fungus thinks of instead, you could make an eldership. Perhaps a warwalker. I could also teach you how to connect to its wraithbone and truly embrace the elder way. He missed the dirty look from Killa at being called a fungus. Before either one of them could attack each other, Shaso spoke up. Perhaps something from the Tao would be better and much more simple to build. An XV8 crisis suit would give him a lot more protection and will help him defend himself. Naruto smiled as he saw the three of them begin to get along. His focus was beginning to fade. Naruto, you in there, hello? Not seeing who was talking, he heard a voice. He slowly began to black out. Naruto shook his head awake and saw Kara standing in front of his desk. Sorry Kara, I must have dozed off. What's up? Kara stood there in complete silence. Naruto had a shiver run down his spine as she continued to look at him. Kara blinked as she heard Naruto's voice. A large grin soon covered her face as she spoke up. Sorry, I just wanted to come and check up on you. We haven't really talked since the Dio. Naruto's smile came back in full force as he heard that, silently worried about how she would react about his new relationship. Sure, no problem. Kara took a seat across from him before speaking up. I just wanted to ask, are you okay? Ever since we found out about this gene seed thing you seem different. Naruto took a minute to think about her question. He looked back up into Kara's eyes before speaking up. This has been weird for me. I've always felt like I was a burden to everyone. Kara looked like she was about to interrupt him, but was stopped when he continued speaking. But now I feel like I know what I want to do. I have multiple beings living inside of me, and I want to help them. Kara's smile was gentle as she heard that, happy that Naruto was happy in his own way. Before they could continue their conversation, Kara's phone went off, taking all attention to Kara's bag. Kara almost shouted in frustration as she realized she had agreed to train Mon-El at the Dio. Sighing to herself, she turned back to Naruto. I'm sorry I have to run off, but we aren't done talking. Okay. Naruto chuckled as he heard the fake serious voice she put on. Unaware she was hiding a deep anger and was probably gonna take it out on Mon-El. Watching her leave, Naruto turned back to his screen and began working on a new project, calling it the XV8 crisis suit. Nodding to himself, he began to write the uses of the suit, mostly being to help heroes like his sister and the Dio when deployed. Working away, he never saw the small red dot slowly turn on at the top of his screen as he worked absent-mindedly away on his new suit, never realizing he was being watched by a good number of women, all of whom wanted him for themselves. What if Naruto x Alex Danvers and Supergirl end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.